Yeah, it is.
Up next on The Bottom Line, a conversation with the new chief of the Montgomery County Police Department, Marcus Jones.
We have more traffic fatalities than we have homicides in the county. It speaks volumes.
We go to Poolsville for a ceremony to honor the memory of one of this county's lynching victims.
And so for folks to come together and recognize and try and make right by doing this is definitely an uplifting moment for us here in Montgomery County.
We'll spend a day at the Public Safety Training Academy to see what it takes to be one of the county's bravest.
We've run the worst day of your life 100 times before we actually run it, hopefully.
And Craig Rice announces the winner of his Council Member for a Day competition.
And so I hope to use my position as council member for a day to find out and make an impact about it.
Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Susan Kennedy. This month, Marcus Jones was sworn in as the new chief for Montgomery County Police. We sat down with Chief Jones to learn more about this man who has been with the department for 34 years to talk about his career, goals, and dreams.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
It's been a long 6 months for Marcus Jones, but worth the wait. The 34-year veteran is now officially the new chief of the Montgomery County Police Department.
According to the Constitution
and laws of this state.
And the laws of this state.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jones steps into the role after the retirement of Tom Manger, who spent 15 years as chief.
I'm so happy for Marcus, for the county, for the police department. This is just a tremendous day, and couldn't be more proud of Marcus, and he's going to be a great police chief.
But he wasn't the first choice of County Executive Mark Elrich. Despite that, Jones stood by his department during a time of uncertainty and eventually walked away with a nomination from Elrich.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. It is unanimous. Congratulations.
And a unanimous vote of confidence from the County Council.
The department were really sort of in a state of uncertainty in order to, just maintain, the calmness as best as I could. So that meant a lot to me. There was community members that felt strongly about my leadership and felt as though I should be the chief, and they really wanted me to, to really be here and to stay here, and I was committed to that.
Jones took over the role as acting chief when the department was investigating an officer who used a racial slur while talking to black men. Following that incident, an officer was charged with using excessive force. Jones stands firm in his assertion that there's accountability associated with those incidents.
That we do hold our officers accountable for their actions, that's not acceptable.
During his interview with the council, Jones was asked about providing mental health support for his officers. Last month, Officer T.J. Bamba took his own life while on the job.
With a heavy heart, that I am announcing that Montgomery County Police has lost one of our own.
Jones says he will work to remove the stigma associated with asking for help.
Police officers, we do some incredible things, but in our daily roles too, right? You are there to help solve other people's problems. When you go through problems of your own, you feel as if that you can handle that on your own, and that we want to relay the message to our folks that no, that doesn't show a sign of weakness, and that we want you to know that we will support you in getting you the help that you need, and that there are resources available for you.
But probably the biggest goal for the new chief will be improving community relations by encouraging his officers to get out of their cars and get to know their communities.
I think, it's interesting because I think that there are so many definitions of what community policing is, right? From a patrol perspective, the officers, the public sees officers, right, in uniform in patrol cars who work in their general areas. And those are the officers that are first line responders, and they are the ones who are always committed to going and answering the calls for service. How do we engage them in a way of going into certain areas of our communities, right? We have officers now, right, that go to schools, for example.
How are you?
Thank you.
What's your name?
Victoria.
Victoria.
And do career day, and some officers will stop through outside of the school resource officers. I'm talking about patrol officers. Will stop through schools and assist in some way and be a part of different events. We have lots of other events that go on throughout the county that our officers are fully engaged in, particularly, you know, not just from our community engagement division, but we also have each of the district stations. But how do we broaden that, and how do we highlight it, right? How do we make sure that people understand and see what we're actually doing and how impactful?
Jones also spoke to us about pedestrian safety and how the police department fits into the county's commitment to Vision Zero.
We have more traffic fatalities than we have homicides in the county. It speaks volumes.
Oh, thank you,
Chief Marcus Jones's ties to the community, his commitment, knowledge, and skills earned him the unanimous backing of the county council.
We will make mistakes, but the question is, do you get up, dust yourself off, and stand taller than you were before? Or do we hang our heads? And I will tell you, as long as I lead this police department, we will not hang our heads. We will not.
Every day is training day at the county's Public Safety Training Academy. We spend a day learning about just a few of the tasks our future firefighters learn to master. When you walk in the doors of the Montgomery County Public Safety Training Academy, the motto of the facility stands before you as plain as day.
And you come to Montgomery County because you want to be part of the best. We are the best, and our citizens expect that. So when we walked in, we decided to, what do we do? The first thing that would, pop when you looked at it, and they say, the police in the United States are the finest and the firefighters are the bravest. So we want to say, hey, this is where it all starts, right through these doors.
Assistant Chief Adam Jones oversees the day-to-day operations for fire and rescue services at the training academy. On our visit, he gave us a look at what a typical day of training for his recruits looks like.
We've had fire rescue classes from anywhere from 80 people down to 18 people. And the first thing they do is in the morning they report to the classroom, they get their agenda, they come down here and they go through their physical training. We get them for their first 26 weeks. Let's face it, a lot of kids are playing video games now, so we get them in and they can pass their physicals, but they need to be able to go to a fire, carry people up and down stairs with the ambulance cots.
Fire and rescue recruits spend about 700 hours in the classroom, and they are taught by seasoned firefighters. They learn about lots of aspects of the job, including hazardous materials response, fire and injury prevention, and how to drive a hook and ladder truck. There are 6 of these vehicles and 16 ladder trucks. There are also heavy-duty tools fire and rescue recruits learn how to operate, like the jaws of life, metal cutters to reach victims who are trapped.
So everything that we do is to do no further harm to the patient, to stabilize the incident, and then to safely remove. And we really don't remove the patient from the vehicle, we move the vehicle from around the patient. And that's how we make sure that we're not bringing them in contact with any sharp edges. We just don't come in here to take the door off. We come in to get people out with as little jostling around as because we're concerned with cervical injuries.
There are 2 concrete burn buildings on site at the academy, a single-family home and a high-rise. These buildings are designed to develop both residential and commercial firefighting skills, so the recruits are ready for the call. You'll also find a Metro car on site, complete with its own set of tracks built by members of the department. These public servants are trained to respond to any situation that could be a matter of life and death.
We've run the worst day of your life 100 times before we actually run it, hopefully.
And ended at the display that honors the Montgomery County Fire Department pipe and drum. The pipes have become a distinguishing feature of a fallen hero's funeral.
We're proud of it, and we're proud of, we go out, and I say it all the time, we protect everybody else's family, but we had to protect each other too. And this is just a nice, way to do it.
The 20 dedicated members practice weekly, committed to the motto of within these walls, the finest and bravest are made. In Maryland, there are at least 41 documented lynchings, and at least 3 were in Montgomery County. Recently, there was a commemoration of one of those tragedies that took place in Poolesville. On this crisp fall Sunday afternoon, more than 100 officials and residents came together at the Poolesville Presbyterian Church to commemorate the lynching of 22-year-old George Peck, an African-American man who was accused of assaulting a white child. His case was never brought to trial. At the ceremony, poetry was read by Poolesville and Kennedy High School students. As part of the ceremony, students carried jars labeled with Peck's name across the street from the church, where it's believed the lynching took place. As the only encore singers harmonized, those in attendance were invited to take a scoop of dirt and place it in the jar. This year, the council established the Remembrance and Reconciliation Commission. Its goal, to bring the community and agencies together to support the Equal Justice Institute's memorial project. One of the jars of dirt will travel to Montgomery, Alabama to be displayed as part of the memorial to the more than 4,000 documented lynching victims. Sunday's ceremony was designed to advance healing and reconciliation across Montgomery County.
Montgomery County government had a role in the history that brought us here. We strive to be better. We strive to create the kind of community that we all want to live in today, but we need to really understand how we got here.
It really is good to see that we're honoring our history, and so for folks to come together and recognize and try and make right by doing this is definitely an uplifting moment for us here in Montgomery County.
And the reason it's so important is because if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. But we have to come and say his name and honor the man, but also remember the history that led to this murder so that we don't do the same thing in the future and that we can correct for our sins in the past.
And finally, each year, Craig Rice invites high school students to participate in his Council Member for a Day challenge. This year, the winner was from Northwest High School.
Very excited, and I just really want to say thank you. Thank you.
If you are with the Council Member for the Day challenge and you're one of the finalists, and we're going to have you get seated and we'll get started shortly.
She writes, all levels of government can address teen vaping by putting more of an emphasis on prevention in their daily lives. Whether it be through legislation, having conversations, creating safe spaces, or providing resources, we can lower the number of vaping teens one effort at a time. As the old adage says, it takes a village to raise a child, and it will take significant action on Montgomery County's part to raise a generation of nicotine-free teens. She says, I've witnessed empty Juul pods littered about campus and cohorts who had the audacity to recharge their vape pens using school equipment. She believes the FDA, the Real Cost campaign, is not strong enough against the vaping epidemic, and she believes that national government pressure is not enough because we need state and local too to promote the awareness around this issue, including doing school assemblies on this issue. Please give it up for your council member for the day, Ajo Ivanma from Northwest High School. Congratulations.
My name is Ajo Avanla, and I'm a senior at Northwest High School. I've actually been doing a bit of work with vape, and noticing how big of an epidemic it is to us as youth is crazy. Not only have I witnessed, the impact in my daily life, as Councilmember Rice mentioned, how I quoted it in my essay, but this, our generation using Juul without knowing the effects, because all this research is very new and groundbreaking, and new research is being conducted as we speak. We are allowing ourselves to be test subjects for this device. We don't know all the impacts, the effects of what it does, and so I hope to use my position as council member for a day to find out and make an impact about it.
Well, that does it for this edition of The Bottom Line. For County Cable Montgomery, I'm Susan Kennedy.
make me wear my bike helmet. Taught me never to run with scissors.
So why do you keep a loaded gun in your drawer?
How safe is that?
You asked them to follow some safety rules. Now they're asking you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Always lock it up.